A festival camp and a refugee camp. What do they have in common? At first glance, not much, except that a tent once slept in at a UK festival and left behind is likely today providing shelter to refugees in northern France. This is the story of a charity which saw an opportunity to make a difference, helping extend the life cycle of tents and sleeping bags to support some of the most vulnerable people on the planet. So it's about 5 a.m. on a Saturday morning. I'd normally be in bed at this time, but this morning I'm driving to meet a charity and then off we go to Dover. There's about an hour and a half of the journey left and then we'll be getting into Dover, where we will be getting the ferry. I'm in the car with
Mark
and Angus,
both from the charity Hearts for Refugees. Hearts for Refugees was originally formed as a group a decade ago during the wave of support for the refugee crisis. For the 9th year now, they've spent the summer at UK festival sites after campers had left, in search of items to be repurposed, starting with the Isle of Wight in June to Glastonbury, Boomtown and finally Reading Festival at the end of August. Each saw the team and their volunteers put their sleeves up to sweep, sort and fold.
There's no rush.
I first met Angus back in June when he'd returned from the first salvage of the 2025 summer season.
This is the first load of two from the Isle of Wight. We think, and certainly from last year, it was around about 200 tents, a bit less sleeping bags, maybe about 150, something like that. Which, considering the size of the festival, the amount of campers, is actually not too bad.
Now, attitudes and mentalities have evolved over the years, with festivals seeing a real positive change when it comes to waste. Festivals themselves are even adapting, and while this means charities are collecting smaller numbers year on year, all agree it's a huge step forward, while their messaging remains not to leave anything behind. But I wanted to see for my own eyes where all these items end up. So I joined Mark and Angus as they embarked on their yearly journey to France. And it wasn't long until we arrived at the ferry terminal. And this is where reality started sinking in. For us, all it took was a passport and a couple of hours to safely get across the tumultuous waters of the English Channel, a journey thousands of refugees each year risk their lives making.
So that's the outskirts of Calais. It's actually quite spread out, quite a big place, maybe bigger than most people realise, I think. But yeah, coming up on the beach.
So we got off the ferry about 20 minutes ago, and that's roughly how long it's taken us to drive to this first delivery point. So we're now at a charity's warehouse. I'm not at liberty to film where we are exactly, the premises, and that's for safety reasons. But they're currently unloading the van behind me.
So here we've got quite a few tents which have already been checked. We know how many they can sleep, so we'll distribute them in camps across Calais and Dunkirk for families. We receive those tents for free, which is an enormous help as it enables us to save money and to distribute more tents than we'd otherwise be able to. A week and a half ago we responded to an eviction which represented 120 families, whereas our weekly quota is 110 tents. In one day we distributed more than we're able to in a week.
Refugee Women's Centre is one of the beneficiaries of the festival salvage operation. The items which travelled with us in the van are set to provide the bulk of their winter stock. According to Lena, the number of women and children ending up here is increasing, with more recorded already at this point in the year than for the whole of 2024. Now, to better understand the reality faced by displaced people, Angus took me to a refugee camp. And as we approached it, we could see dozens of refugees sleeping on the bare ground or walking along the road. We then spotted a group seemingly about to attempt a small boat crossing in broad daylight.
Oh yeah, it's not unusual. Yeah, not unusual at all. Let's say the guys will be marshalled by a smuggler to an assembly point. They'll then catch the bus to wherever it is the boat's near to where the boat's leaving from. I must admit that's the first time I've been through a crowd like that in all the time I've been out. It's usually a little bit more discreet. I think it's usually a little later in the day. So yeah, that's the first for me as well, I must admit.
And while I couldn't film the camp itself, what I saw confirmed what Lina had said to me earlier in the day. A large number of families are sleeping rough, with young children holding on to shelter items until they get moved on by French authorities. Now, day one is complete. It's been a long day. We woke up quite early. We spent the day travelling, and the charity delivered everything that was in the van that we travelled with to two charities who share a space. But tomorrow's the big day when the lorry arrives in Calais with 2 additional trucks, and they'll be delivering to Care for Calais, who I believe are the main organisation on the ground. And then there's other grassroots charities who will be receiving donations, and they'll be banking on those donations because the colder months are coming, and that's when tents, sleeping bags, all of those warm and dry items are really needed. So it's going to be a big day for everyone. I'll take you along with us on this journey. Day 2, the culmination point of months of planning, a summer of salvages and days of loading trucks. But Angus was anxious. No news from the guys at Hope and Aid Direct, the UK-based humanitarian convoy who partner with Hearts for Refugees.
I should be in Dover by now. I haven't heard anything. Obviously they're driving, so they haven't been able to call me yet, but hopefully they'll call me quite soon. Obviously it's the last piece in the puzzle is to get all this stuff here, get the trucks here on time and get everything delivered. So, I mean, what could stop it is obviously if there's delays, especially if they get stopped at customs rather. They shouldn't do because they have clearance, but you never know, there's always random checks, the chance of that, and basically it just puts out the whole schedule.
A reassuring phone call later, all was back on track.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. That's what we wanted to hear.
And off we went to Care for Calais' warehouse.
Katie.
Hi, Angus. Nice to meet you. Lovely to meet you. Thank you so much. Thank you for organising everything.
No problem at all.
This is where our donations first come in. So when we have donation delivery.
The charity was founded around a decade ago to support refugees in northern France. Now they operate on both sides of the channel. Finally, the most awaited moment of the year for all those involved in the mammoth operation had arrived. And in no time, 2 trucks packed full were emptied by a dedicated team of volunteers.
It's really the main source of us receiving tents actually from the festival salvaging, but it's really important, throughout the whole of Calais for the organisations to have shelter items for people, particularly as we're coming into the winter months. We're also exceptionally short on blankets and sleeping bags, and I think other organisations are as well. And again, the weather will start to turn colder, and it's a beautiful day today, but it won't stay like that. Also because these living sites are regularly evicted every 48 hours by the authorities here, and when they're evicted, if somebody has gone to get food or gone to get water or whatever it might be, and they're not with their possessions at the time, their items will be taken, and so might their bedding and their papers or anything else important to them as well. So it's kind of a constant case of trying to replenish these items that are taken, and so we get through our stock really, really quickly. And just over the last couple of years, donations just have been a lot lower, and the second-hand clothing as well that we get in. We're the only mass clothing provider in Calais. So again, trying to get clothing to everybody that we support is really, really important because these are basic items that people need.
Simultaneously, it sets mobile refugee support in Dunkirk that a 40 feet long articulated lorry was being unloaded. Over the years, the need for refugee support on the coast of northern France has become so widespread that each of the charities met along the journey and many more continue to play a valuable part. For Charlie, co-founder of Mobile Refugee Support, this work is about humanity.
I've spent 10 years working with these communities, working with these people from all over the world, and I believe in this work with all my heart. It's really it's about just helping humans. It's about just supporting people who are in a bad situation. You talk to the people that we support, and if they had a choice, then they would be in the countries that they come from. But whether it be due to political or economic or instability or whatever reason, they've been forced to leave and haven't been able to find that safety or happiness in the place where they're from. The amount of people that are coming here and trying to reach the UK is a drop in the ocean compared to the amount of people that are actually, wandering through Europe or wandering across this earth away from the places where they are native to.
Now it's a total of 1,750 sleeping bags, 2,470 tents, 15 camping chairs and 25 tarpaulins delivered across all sites. And it was time for us to travel back to England. It's not lost on me how easily we made the journey across and back. Meanwhile, the anti-asylum sentiment continues to grow in the UK. Some people don't want this work to be done, I'm aware of it. But as I looked at the white cliffs of Dover in the distance, stood on this ferry, I realised the deprivation, just a stone's throw away. And I could see why people would be desperate to seek a better life. To understand their reasons for ending up in England, I spoke to an asylum seeker from South Sudan. He risked his life on a small boat crossing after sleeping in a tent in Calais. He wishes to remain anonymous.
I come from North Sudan, Libya. From Libya, Algeria, Spain. It was very difficult because even the government of France is working hard that they don't want people to cross to come to UK. If the government of United Kingdom allow me to be here and I get all my documents, I have to work. But now I cannot work because when I see my ID, it's written no work. This is one of the factors why I leave my country, because there was no justice. There was no rule of law. So when I come to a country whereby people go with the law and justice, I have to follow. This is what I need.
My journey almost over, I just needed to make another stop before going home. While we took our time, Charles Storer, the founder of Hope and Aid Direct, was already back at work, preparing the next humanitarian operation, to Ukraine this time.
The next truck in 2 weeks' time will be our 90th articulated truck since 2022. We use trucks that are coming into the UK from Ukraine.
Charles has been running aid convoys for 28 years now. Decades later, while some conflicts have been resolved, others have erupted and led to hundreds of thousands of people being displaced.
When you started your charity 28 years ago, did you think you'd still be doing it today?
I suppose I did have an inkling that the situation was going to continue, but I think the situation globally is getting worse. So the need for charities like ours, we're by no means alone. There are lots of charities doing similar things. The need is getting greater, and I fear that there is going to be that it's getting worse. It's generally getting worse.
The situation for the guys, the refugees themselves, hasn't really changed in that time in terms of numbers. The numbers have always been more or less the same. It's not gotten hugely more recently, but it has been portrayed that way. It's more obvious now because of the small boat situation. It's a very visible way that people are actually trying to access sanctuary. Whereas previously there were a lot more safe routes. People are left with no choice but to come by whatever means they can. And there's that perception that it's illegal to do that, whereas the fact of the matter is it's not illegal. to come by any means. It's called a regular means, it's not illegal. If you're coming to seek asylum, you must be in the UK, physically be in the UK to make your asylum claim. So in effect, this system is actually working the way it's been set up, because removing all the safe routes means people are left with only one option, and that is to come here in a small boat in order to make their claim.
While it is difficult to know how many refugees live in or pass through northern France, charities estimate up to 3,000 to be sleeping rough on the streets of Calais and Dunkirk at any given time. Now, whatever the rights and wrongs of this situation, for a period of time, a tent once abandoned on a UK festival field is providing refugees with shelter and warmth.